What's going on, everyone? The Lakers started the season absolutely atrocious, and it looked like we were a team that was headed for the lottery. The Pelicans were going to get our pick, and we were going to be a team that was going to miss the play-in and just end abysmally. But Rob Pelinka pulled some magic. He, turned our entire season around, pulled some rabbits out of hats, and really kind of changed the landscape for the Lakers. Lakers were able to go on a run, make the play-in, win the play-in, get into the playoffs, and make the Western Conference Finals. And unfortunately, it ended in a, less than happy fashion. And it ended up leading to the Lakers getting swept, and it just was very unfortunate. But when you look in hindsight and you look, okay, like this was a team that got put together that wasn't even supposed to be there. They played like 10 games together going into the playoffs, like literally fully healthy. They had like 25 games total, but you had D'Angelo Russell who was injured. Anthony Davis missed some of those games. LeBron James missed like half of those games. Like the Lakers weren't fully whole for more than 10 games. So they weren't able to build that chemistry. They weren't able to build that camaraderie and build those relationships and have that understanding that comes with just building that over the course of an offseason and a preseason and a training camp and an entire season, right? And then we ran into a team like the Denver Nuggets, and they had that. You saw the cohesiveness. You saw their ability and understanding of each other because they've been together for so long. But you look at a team like the Lakers, and there were just turnovers that weren't necessarily anybody's fault. It was just lack of communication or lack of understanding where you were supposed to be. You saw guys struggle at times that you didn't really expect to see struggle, because it was like, okay, I'm supposed to be here. Like, this is my spot. I want to get it here, but I have to get it here because that's where this play calls for it. That's where the set is. Or he doesn't know where my shooting pocket is, so he's throwing the ball over here. I need the ball here. And all of those things play a factor in the total result of the Lakers' outcome. But a big question that many people have, and there really is a bit of an argument for, was, did the Lakers overachieve, right? And was it fool's gold? So for starters, yes, the Lakers overachieved. Absolutely. I think anybody can accept that. Like, nobody expected the Lakers to make the playoffs, let alone be in the Western Conference Finals. So absolutely the Lakers overachieved. But overachieving doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing. It doesn't mean that they weren't good enough to overachieve. And this team very well could be right back. If the Lakers stand pat, don't do a thing this offseason, the Lakers could very well be back in the Western Conference Finals and win an NBA championship. I mean, look, if D'Angelo Russell just gave them like 15 a game instead of like 8 or whatever it was, Lakers probably win that series. You know, if Dennis Schroeder gave them 15 a game rather than like 3, like the Lakers probably win that series, right? Like that Denver series was a lot closer than people think, right? That Denver series was decided in total by only 25 points. 3 out of the 4 games total were only decided by 13 points. Like, that's insanely close, insanely close. And the Lakers had leads in all those games. They were up by double digits in pretty much all those games. Like, the Lakers had a real shot. And you feel like, okay, full offseason, full training camp, full preseason, full regular season, Lakers build some of that cohesiveness. We're right back there. Boom, we can beat them, right? The only team that was able to beat us was the team that won the NBA championship, and we played them well, right? Like, they played as good as they possibly could have. And we were in all of those games. And Denver, yes, they swept us, but it felt like the Lakers gave them one of the toughest challenges front to back. The Lakers were the best offensive team against them by far, and it was just their defense didn't show up. A lot of that can be attributed to just tiredness, right? I mean, the Lakers had an uphill battle to climb the entire season. And then even when they got the trade, every single game was do or die. Because it was like, if the Lakers lose one game, that's it, right? They missed the play-in. It's so tight. It's so close, right? And it's like, by the time they got through that, and then they beat the Memphis Grizzlies, and then they go and they beat the Golden State Warriors, and they ran into the Mile High, and it was just, they were fresh. They were good. They didn't really have any challenges, right? Like, they were clearly better and just kind of ran through Minnesota. And then the Phoenix Suns, like, they didn't have a chance. It took Devin Booker shooting 80% a game for them to even be competitive. And even in all the games that they lost by double digits. Like, it just, you looked at all that, and it was just like, man, the Lakers, they're tired, they're beat. Like, they got into it, and it looked like it translated. You know, LeBron James, he needed foot surgery. Anthony Davis was dealing with a foot problem. D'Angelo Russell was dealing with a foot problem. You know, Mo Bamba was hurt the whole time. Not saying Mo Bamba would have been the difference in the series, but, you know, hey, it's still a big body you could have thrown at Jokic. Like, all of those little things kind of play a role. But then there is this side that is fair and that's worth arguing, which is, like, was it fool's gold, right? And was the Lakers kind of a product of just situation and environment? Now, that's all NBA basketball is. That's all playoffs are. That's all winning an NBA championship is, right? Your job is to beat the team in front of you regardless, right? Your job is to ensure that you just beat whoever it is. And there were always circumstances, right? Like when the Toronto Raptors won the NBA Finals, it took a ridiculous amount of sequence of events to happen. It took the Golden State Warriors, basically entire starting five, to just fall apart from all the wear and tear from them playing. You know, like the Warriors win. Every year the Warriors won, somebody got hurt. Somebody significant that got hurt that could have been the difference in them maybe winning or losing a series, right? You know, even, I mean, in Cleveland, you had Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love get hurt in that first finals, right? Like all of that stuff. It's all sequences of events. Milwaukee, they caught a bunch of lucky breaks in that series. The Phoenix Suns, not that they won the championship, but when they went and played Milwaukee, the Lakers were going to beat them. Lakers were up 2-1. They had no answer for Anthony Davis. They looked like they were about to cruise to a 3-1 lead, and AD gets hurt. That doesn't happen. Phoenix loses that series, and the Lakers might have went back-to-back. There are so many things over the course of a playoffs that's just how it works. Denver, you know, played an 8th seed, then they played the 4th seed, and then they played the 7th seed, and then they played the 8th seed. People are already trying to put asterisks on the Denver Nuggets finals run. I just don't buy it. Again, their job is to do their job and beat the team that's in front of you. They couldn't control and pick who was going to win between the Clippers and the Suns, or the Lakers and the Grizzlies, or, you know, the Heat and the Bucks and the Heat and the Celtics and stuff. No, their job was to win their games and beat whatever team it was in front of them. And that's what the Lakers did too, up until they got into Denver, right? But, you know, Memphis, they had injuries and they had some issues and locker room problems and, you know, all the Ja mess, and Ja missed the game and all that stuff. Like, is that something that goes into it? And then, you know, you have the Golden State Warriors. They were a team that was just exhausted and couldn't really figure things out and had a lot of question marks. Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and all that stuff. And that was a real question mark. And then the Lakers ran into the first big real challenge in many people's eyes, and they got steamrolled and they got swept. And that is a fair assessment. That is something that is worth, again, at least a conversation, which is why I'm making this video and talking about it. But again, I just don't subscribe to the idea of like, well, the Lakers just caught a bunch of lucky breaks. Like, that's their job, is to beat the team in front of them. Every team gets lucky breaks. Denver got lucky breaks, right? Like, that's just how it works. That's how it goes, right? Does Chris Paul get hurt? Does that make a difference in the Denver series, right? Against them. They won 2 games without him, right? So, you know, how does that bode, right? Like, if the Minnesota Timberwolves, if they didn't deal with all their injuries to like Naz Reid and Daniels and stuff like that, like, does that change things a little bit? They lost one of their best defenders and perimeter defenders, and they lost their, you know, point of attack defender. Like, there's a lot of questions when it comes to that. That's how it goes, you know? I mean, Miami, right? If Giannis doesn't get hurt, do they win that series? Probably not. You know, like, all of those things are little factors that go into it that matter. And again, it's not the Lakers' fault that Ja Morant would rather fight little kids and, you know, wave guns than play basketball, or that, you know, guys got hurt. Like, you know, Lakers were hurt. LeBron needed foot surgery. Anthony Davis, you know, he needed to rest his foot and was dealing with all kinds of problems, right? D'Angelo Russell, again, he had foot problems. Like, it's part of the game. And those are the adjustments. And you look at this roster and you look at this team and you go, man, they have the pieces to be right back. And look, people, and I've said this countless times, people are always going to discredit what the Lakers do, right? Lakers win the NBA championship and everyone's trying to find flaws and logic and just won't even acknowledge anything else, right? Like, like when the Lakers won the bubble year, people always try to and just completely discredit that the Lakers were the best team in the league, had the number 1 overall record, were the best defense, top 5 offense, were beat 5 of the best teams in the league back to back to back to back before the whole pandemic and stuff. Like, people always try to discredit everything, right? Like, it's just, especially when it comes to the Lakers, people always want to add asterisks, even with the Denver championship. People are trying to add asterisks and do stuff. It's just part of sports. And to me, it's silly. It's nonsense, right? Denver won the championship because they were the best team. Maybe they didn't have the most talent. Maybe there were teams that were, front to back better, whatever. But Denver won. Denver was able to stay the healthiest. Denver was able to beat the teams in front of them. They were the better team. They were the best team. They won the championship. Maybe next year, maybe they will be, maybe they'll be on the wrong side of that, right? But I absolutely believe that this Lakers roster, this core, can be right back in the Western Conference Finals. There's nobody in the league that's going to have a huge, significant turnaround. All the teams, for the most part, are going to be pretty much the same, right? Like, sure, there might be, minor tweaks here and there. Phoenix Suns especially, they're probably going to unload Chris Paul and, trade DeAndre Ayton and try to build a more cohesive roster, a roster that makes more sense around Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Okay, so they'll probably be better. But outside of that, unless Joel Embiid goes to like the Warriors or something, there's not going to be some huge landscape changing trade or signing or something like that, right? It's going to be pretty straightforward. And even the Lakers very likely make some minor moves, some minor changes, some minor adjustments. Maybe they even swing for the fence, right? Like if Chris Paul gets bought out by the Phoenix Suns, does he go to the Lakers? That could change a lot of things, right? Do the Lakers, if they do get Chris Paul, do they look to move D'Lo and make some changes? Maybe they go get a Buddy Hield, a Miles Turner or something like that. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, wow, the Lakers have the best roster in the league, right? Like, I just don't buy it, right? But there is the questions. There are the concerns that, like, did the Lakers have such success because teams, just as much as the Lakers didn't have a real understanding of each other, other teams didn't, right? Because, it's just like when a guy off the bench comes in that hasn't played and all of a sudden he starts having some crazy success. For example, great example is Jalen Brunson, right? Not with the Knicks, but with Dallas. When Luka went down, Brunson just went off and ended up getting himself a payday. Problem was, the reason he was able to go off was because teams didn't plan for him. Teams weren't expecting him to go and drop 30 a night. Like, because teams never saw that. Teams weren't expecting it. Teams didn't know how to game plan for it. It threw a wrench into everything. And Dallas was able to have some success, and Luka came back, and they were off to the races, right? Those kind of things are actually factors. So when the Lakers go and make all these trades, there's no footage on this team. There's no understanding on this team. One night Austin Reeves beat you. The next night D'Lo beat you. The next night Rui beat you. The next night LeBron beat you. The next night AD beat you. And it's like, who do we game plan for and how do we game plan to stop and slow down the Lakers? Right? Because, again, there's every single night, it's a different guy, but every single night is because teams are like, okay, well, we need to stop LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So that allows player X, Y, and Z to step up. And then it's like, okay, well, man, Austin's killed us the last 2 games, so we need to slow him down and keep him down. So then they target him, and it's like, oh, well, D'Lo. But when you have, over the course of a season, teams having okay, well, D'Lo, you can completely take him out of games. Austin Reeves only likes to do this. Rui's only best at this, right? So if we do this, and this, then that just completely nullifies the Lakers. Like, that is a real thing. And that is something that could absolutely be a factor and could change things for the Lakers. But in general, there's always the possibility that the Lakers swing for the fences, right? Go get a Kyrie, go get a Damian Lillard, go get something like that. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, wow, they're the best team in the league. Or maybe even if they don't get a star, maybe they go and get, like I said, a Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, and then sign Chris Paul. And it's like, wow, like this team is legit like 10 blue chip guys deep. Like, good luck. Good luck trying to beat these guys, right? Like, that could easily happen. Or the Lakers could stand pat and just be better, right? Like, seriously, the Lakers could go and just not do anything and keep the exact same roster, and this team is ridiculous because, maybe D'Lo, maybe he has more confidence and he has a better understanding and he doesn't disappear in the playoffs next time, right? And, Austin Reeves takes the next step and Max Christie takes the next step. Jared Vanderbilt develops a solid shot, and Rui Hachimura, he's able to replicate during the course of the regular season his playoff success and stuff like that. And like all of a sudden it's like, man, like, no, this team, they're the 1 seed. They have the best defense, top 5 offense. Like this team is legit, right? Like time is going to tell. And we're going to know within the first, 20 games or whatever, what this team really has, what this team's really made of. I think this team is at least a top 4 or 5 team in the West, but who knows? Maybe they're not. Time will tell. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think, the Lakers definitely are. They'll be fine. They're going to bounce back. They'll make the right decisions, whatever. Do you think no? It's a bit of fool's gold. They overachieved, and that's all it was. However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments.